I still can't believe it all started on her 58th birthday. That day replays in my head like a bad movie I can't stop watching. I'd shown up at Mom's place, well, what used to be Mom's place, with Lisa by my side, 5 months pregnant, and glowing in that way only she could pull off. We were there to talk about the future, our future. I had it all planned out. A little nudge here, a guilt trip there, and she'd hand over the house, the savings, everything I deserved. But instead, Maggie, my own mother, looked me in the eye and flipped my world upside down. She's living it up now, you know. Sunset Haven, some fancy retirement resort with marble floors and personal chefs, the kind of place you see in those glossy ads for rich old folks. She's 58, not even that old, but there she is, sipping tea on a balcony overlooking a lake, like she's earned some grand escape. Meanwhile, I'm stuck in a cramped, moldy apartment, counting pennies to pay off debts she could have wiped out with one check. How did it come to this? I ask myself that every damn day. Back when I was a kid, things were different. Mom was different. She was this quiet painter, always hunched over a canvas in her tiny studio, brushes scattered everywhere like little soldiers. I'd sit there for hours watching her mix colors, blues bleeding into yellows, reds smearing into purples. She'd smile at me, her hands stained with paint, and say, "Jane, art's about finding beauty in the mess." I didn't get it then, but I loved her for it. She raised me alone after Dad died. He was a writer, gone too soon from a car accident when I was 10. Left her with nothing but a stack of bills and me, this scrawny little girl who didn't know how to stop crying. She worked her ass off, though. Took commissions, taught art classes, scraped by so I'd never feel the sting of being broke. I remember her coming home late, exhausted, but still sitting with me at the kitchen table, helping me with homework or just talking about nothing. She was my rock, my everything. So how the hell did we end up here, with her turning her back on me, like I'm some stranger? It wasn't always like this. Growing up, I thought she'd always be there, you know, that unconditional mom thing, fixing my messes, bailing me out, loving me no matter what. But somewhere along the line she changed. Or maybe I did. By the time I hit my teens, I started seeing her differently. She wasn't the cool artist anymore. She was this nag, always harping on about responsibility and saving for the future. I'd roll my eyes and think, "Lighten up, Mom. Life's not that serious." Then that birthday happened. I walked into her house expecting a warm welcome, maybe a hug, some of that homemade soup she used to make. Instead, she sat me down and dropped a bomb. She was moving out, cashing out, done with me. She gave me 2 choices: stick around and help with her new life, whatever that meant, or kiss any inheritance goodbye. Help her? Like I'm some servant? I've got my own life, my own kid on the way, and she expects me to bow down to her whims? No way. I chose my path that day, told her I didn't need her, that I'd make it on my own. Lisa and I stormed out, her hand in mine, and I swore I'd prove her wrong. Show her I could build something bigger than she ever dreamed. But looking back now, standing in the wreckage of everything I thought I'd have, I wonder if I misread the whole damn thing. Maybe she wasn't the one who betrayed me. Maybe I'd been betraying her all along, but that's getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to how it all really started unraveling. I can still smell the paint if I close my eyes long enough. That sharp, tangy scent of turpentine mixed with the earthy whiff of wet canvas. It's burned into my memory. Back when I was little, Mom's studio was my playground. I'd sprawl out on the floor with a sketch pad, scribbling stick figures while she worked on her paintings. She'd lean over, her dark hair falling into her face, and show me how to blend colors with my fingers. "See, Jane? You don't need a brush for everything. Sometimes you just gotta feel it. I'd laugh, my hands a mess of blue and green, and she'd laugh too, this soft, warm sound that made everything okay. She was good, you know. Not famous or anything, but her stuff had soul. Landscapes with stormy skies, portraits of people you'd swear you'd met somewhere. She sold enough to keep us afloat after Dad died. He was this quiet guy, always scribbling in notebooks, dreaming up stories he'd read to me at night. When he was gone, it was like the air got sucked out of the house. I'd hear Mom crying in her room sometimes, but she never let me see it. She'd just get up the next day, put on her apron, and keep going. For me, we weren't rich, but we weren't starving either. She'd make these big pots of soup, tomato with basil, or this creamy potato thing that stuck to your ribs. We'd eat at this rickety table in the kitchen, the one with the wobbly legs she never fixed. She'd tell me stories about her college days, how she'd wanted to travel the world with her easel, painting every sunset she could find. I'd sit there, slurping my soup, thinking she was the coolest person alive. Back then, I couldn't imagine a day when I'd hate sitting across from her. But then I got older, and things shifted. Middle school hit, and suddenly I wasn't the kid who loved smearing paint anymore. I started noticing stuff. The way my clothes were plain, hand-me-downs from thrift stores, while the girls at school strutted around in designer jeans. They'd talk about their beach houses, their parents' fancy cars, and I'd just nod along, feeling smaller every second. Mom didn't get it. She'd say, "Jane, you don't need all that to be happy." And I'd think, easy for you to say. You're not the one getting laughed at. By high school, I was done with her little world. I fell in with this crowd. Rich kids, the kind who threw parties with champagne they stole from their parents' cellars. I'd watch them, all confidence and cash, and something clicked. That's what I wanted. Not some quiet life scraping by, but the real deal. Money, status, power. I started begging Mom for stuff. New sneakers, a leather jacket, anything to fit in. She'd sigh, pull out her checkbook, and I'd feel this weird mix of guilt and victory. I didn't thank her. I just took it and ran. College was when I really broke away. I studied finance, got into investing. Numbers made sense to me in a way paint never did. I'd come home, less, call less. Mom would ask what I was up to, and I'd brush her off with a "work's crazy" or "I'll tell you later." Truth was, I was living off her savings, dipping into the account she'd set up for me after Dad died. She never said no, never cut me off, even when I'd blow hundreds on drinks or a weekend in Vegas with friends. I told myself she owed me that much. She'd had her life, now it was my turn. I landed a job after graduation, this hotshot gig at a financial firm, 25 years old, pulling in decent money, and I thought I'd made it. But I kept spending, fancy dinners, designer bags, trips I couldn't really afford. Mom's money was still there, this safety net I'd tug on whenever I got in too deep. She'd call sometimes, her voice all worried. "Jane, you're burning through everything, slow down." I'd snap back, "It's fine, Mom, I've got this." But I didn't. I was chasing something, respect maybe, or just the high of feeling untouchable. Looking back, I can see how I started treating her like a bank instead of a person. She'd try to talk to me, ask about my life, and I'd just tune her out. Her paintings, her soup, her quiet little house. It all felt like a cage I'd escaped from. I didn't need her lectures about responsibility when I was out there building something bigger. Or so I thought. By the time I hit 30, I was engaged to Lisa, pregnant with our kid, and still leaning on Mom's cash to keep up the act. I didn't see it as wrong. She was my mom, right? That's what moms do, give you everything, no questions asked. But that birthday changed it all. I walked in thinking I'd call the shots, that she'd bend like she always did. I was so sure she'd never say no to me, not with a grandkid on the way. God, was I wrong? That day she didn't just say no, she tore the whole damn script apart. And I didn't see it coming, not even a little. I can still feel the heat in my chest from that day, the way it burned when I walked into Mom's house. It was her 58th birthday, and I'd been psyching myself up for weeks. Lisa was with me, her belly just starting to show under this flowy dress she loved. We were a team, ready to lay it all out. I'd rehearsed it in my head. Mom, we need the house, we need the money, there's a baby coming, and you've got more than enough. It wasn't a big ask, not really. She'd been sitting on that place forever. 3 bedrooms, a backyard, all paid off after Dad died. What did she need it for, just her and her paintbrushes? I figured she'd see reason, hand it over with a smile, maybe even thank me for giving her a grandkid to fuss over. The house smelled like it always did, tomatoes and herbs, warm and familiar. She'd made her usual, toasted bread with this chunky soup she'd simmer for hours. I used to love that stuff as a kid, dipping crusts into the bowl while she rambled about her day. But that night it hit me wrong. Lisa wrinkled her nose as we stepped inside, whispering, "God, it's like a grandma's kitchen in here." I smirked, nodding. It was too small, too old-fashioned for what we had planned. We were about to start a family, not live in some relic from the 90s. Mom was at the stove when we walked in, stirring that pot like nothing was up. She turned, saw us, and her face lit up for a second, until she clocked Lisa's belly. "Jane," she said, wiping her hands on a towel, "you didn't tell me you were bringing company." Her voice had this edge, like she was already on guard. I shrugged, playing it cool. "Yeah, well, surprise. This is Lisa. We've got some news." Lisa gave this little wave, all charm, and I jumped in. "She's 5 months along. You're gonna be a grandma." I thought she'd melt, hug us, cry, the whole deal. But she just stood there, spoon in hand, staring, like I'd told her the house was on fire. "A grandma," she repeated, slow, like she was tasting the word. Then she set the spoon down, crossed her arms, and said, "Well, that's something." No excitement, no tears, just this flat, weird tone that threw me off. I pushed past it, figuring I'd warm her up. "Yeah, it's big. That's why we're here. We need to talk about what's next." She didn't say anything, just gestured to the table. We sat down, Lisa picking at the bread like it was a science experiment. I took a deep breath and went for it. "Look, Mom, we're starting a family. This place, it's perfect for us. You don't need all this space anymore, right? And the savings, the stuff Dad left you, it'd help us get settled. I mean, you're not using it." I kept my voice steady, reasonable, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Her eyes narrowed, just a flicker, but I caught it. She leaned back in her chair, hands folded in her lap, and said, "So you want the house and the money?" It wasn't a question. I nodded, leaning in. "Yeah, exactly. It's for the baby, Mom. Family first, right? You always said that." Lisa chimed in, all sweet. "We just want a good start, Maggie. You get that, don't you?" For a second I thought we had her, but then she laughed. This quiet, dry sound that made my stomach twist. "Family first," she echoed, shaking her head. "Funny you'd bring that up now." Before I could respond, she stood up, walked to the counter, and pulled out this folder. She dropped it on the table like it was nothing, but the thud felt heavy. "I've been thinking about my future too, Jane. I'm moving out." I blinked. "Moving out? What are you talking about?" She opened the folder, slid a glossy brochure across to me. "Sunset Haven, some ritzy retirement spot with pictures of old people doing yoga by a lake." I signed the papers last week, she said, calm as hell. I'm selling this place, setting up a trust. Most of it's going to a fund for kids who want to learn art. The rest covers my spot there. My brain short-circuited. You're what? Selling the house? You can't just... She cut me off, voice sharp now. I can and I am. But I'll give you a choice since you're here. You can stay, help me run the fund, be part of something real. Or you can walk away and that's it. No house, no money, nothing. She looked at me, eyes steady, like she'd been waiting to say this forever. I felt the heat rush to my face. Help you? Like what, your assistant? I've got a kid coming, Mom. I'm not here to play charity worker for your little art project. Lisa snorted, muttering, This is ridiculous. I slammed my hand on the table, the bread plate rattling. You're seriously picking some fancy old folks' home over us? Over your own grandkid? She didn't flinch. I'm picking myself, Jane. For once. You've been picking yourself for years. Don't act like this is new. That hit me like a slap, but I shoved it down. Fine, I snapped, standing up. Keep your stupid house, your money, all of it. We don't need you. I'll figure it out myself. Lisa grabbed her bag and I stormed toward the door, yelling over my shoulder, You'll regret this, Mom. You're throwing away your family. She didn't chase after me, didn't call out. The last thing I saw was her standing there, arms crossed, watching us go. I slammed the door so hard the frame shook, and Lisa squeezed my hand as we hit the porch. She's nuts, she said. We'll be fine without her. I nodded, jaw tight, telling myself she was right. I'd show Mom. I'd build something huge, rub it in her face, make her see what she'd lost. But as we drove off, that folder on the table stuck in my mind. Sunset Haven. A trust. No inheritance. It didn't feel real yet, but deep down, something was screaming that I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. I ignored it, pushed the gas harder. I had no idea how fast it had all come crashing down. I told myself I didn't need her. That night after we left Mom's place, I sat in the car with Lisa, gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. She's bluffing, I said, more to myself than to her. No way she'd ditch us like that. She'll come around. Lisa just scrolled through her phone, muttering, She's unhinged, Jane. Who gives up their kid for some retirement spa? I nodded, feeding off her words. We'd prove Mom wrong. I'd make it work. Build something so big, she'd have to eat her stupid ultimatum. The plan was simple at first. I'd been eyeing this investment deal for weeks, a startup promising insane returns, some app that was supposed to be the next big thing. I didn't have Mom's cash anymore, but I had credit cards, a decent chunk of savings from my old job, and a couple buddies who owed me favors. I cashed out everything, maxed out the cards, even took a loan from this sketchy guy I knew from the finance world. High risk, high reward, he'd said, smirking over a whiskey at some dive bar. I didn't care. I needed a win, fast. Lisa was all in too. We'd sit up late in our apartment. Well, my apartment, this sleek little place I'd rented to impress her, talking about the life we'd have once the money rolled in. A bigger place, maybe one of those modern condos with a view, a nursery for the baby, decked out with all the best stuff. She'd laugh, rubbing her belly, saying, Our kid's not going to grow up like you did, scraping by. I'd grin, feeling invincible. Mom thought I couldn't do it? Watch me. But then the cracks started showing. The startup guy stopped returning my calls. I checked the app's website, still under construction. No updates. My buddies bailed, saying they'd miscalculated their budgets. 2 weeks in, I got an email. The company was folding, some legal mess, investors pulling out. My money, gone. 50 grand plus the loan. Just vanished. I sat there staring at the screen, heart pounding, telling myself it wasn't real. I'd figure it out. I always did. Lisa didn't see it that way. She started asking questions. Where the rent was coming from, why I was dodging her about the bills. I'd snap, "It's fine, I've got it." But she wasn't buying it anymore. One night she caught me shoving overdue notices into a drawer. "What the hell, Jane?" she yelled, holding up a red-stamped letter. "You said this was handled." I tried to play it off. "It's temporary, babe, just a hiccup." But she wasn't having it. Temporary? I'm 6 months pregnant, and you're broke? What am I supposed to do with that? Things got ugly fast. She'd scream, I'd yell back, and the apartment turned into a war zone. I'd storm out, crash at a friend's place, thinking she'd cool off. But one day I came home and her stuff was gone. Clothes, ultrasound pics, everything. She left a note on the counter. "I can't raise a kid with someone who's got nothing. Don't call me." I stood there staring at those words, feeling the floor drop out from under me. She took my kid, our kid, and walked away like I was trash. I tried calling Mom after that, swallowed my pride, dialed her number, figuring she'd cave once she heard how bad it was. No answer. Left a voicemail. "Hey, it's me. Things are rough. Can we talk?" But nothing. Days later, I drove by the old house just to see. There was a "sold" sign out front, and some woman I didn't know was watering the roses Mom used to fuss over. I banged on the door, demanded answers. She said her name was Clara, Mom's friend, and yeah, she owned the place now. "Maggie's gone, Jane." She signed it over to me and a few others, said it was time to let go. Let go? Of me? I felt my throat tighten, but I pushed it down with anger. "Where's the money then? She can't just—" Clara cut me off, calm as anything. "It's in a trust, for kids who want to paint, draw, whatever. She's at Sunset Haven, living her life. You should try that sometime." She shut the door in my face, and I stood there, fists clenched, wanting to smash something. All that cash, the house, my future, handed off to strangers and some artsy brats, while I'm drowning. The next few months were a blur. The loan guy came knocking, literally banging on my door at 3 a.m., saying I owed him 10 grand with interest. I sold my car, moved into this shithole apartment with peeling paint and a leaky sink, got a job at a warehouse hauling boxes for minimum wage, my hands blistered and my back screaming by the end of every shift. Friends stopped texting back. Turns out they only liked me when I had cash to flash. I'd lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, replaying that birthday. Her voice? "You can stay or you can walk away." I walked. And now I've got nothing. I'd see Mom's name pop up sometimes. Articles online about her generous donation to some art fund. Pictures of her smiling at Sunset Haven, looking happier than I'd ever seen her. It made me sick. She's out there living like a queen, while I'm scraping by eating ramen out of a dented pot. She did this to me. She could have helped, could have thrown me a lifeline, but no. She picked herself over her own daughter, her grandkid. I'd curse her name under my breath, telling myself she's the selfish one, the one who ruined everything. But then that letter came and it flipped the whole damn story on its head. I wasn't ready for what was inside, not even close. I'd been dodging the world for months by the time that letter showed up. My life was a mess. Warehouse shifts that left me aching, a landlord breathing down my neck for late rent, and a phone that never rang anymore. I'd stopped checking the mailbox, figuring it was just more bills I couldn't pay. But one day, I grabbed the stack anyway, flipping through junk flyers and threats from debt collectors. Then I saw it, an envelope with Clara's handwriting, neat and slanted, like she'd taken her time. My stomach dropped. I hadn't talked to her since that day at the house when she'd shut the door on me like I was nothing. I tore it open right there in the stairwell, the paper crinkling under my fingers. It wasn't from Clara, though. Her note was just a post-it stuck to the front. Maggie wanted you to have this. Inside was a letter, 2 pages in Mom's handwriting. That looping scrawl I'd known since I was a kid, the kind she'd used to leave me notes about dinner or remind me to lock the back door. I almost threw it out. What could she possibly say that'd matter now? But my hands wouldn't let go, so I started reading. "Jane," it began, "I don't know where you are when you get this or if you'll even care. But I need you to know a few things, not for me, but for you." Her words were steady, no frills, like she was talking to me over that damn kitchen table again. "You probably hate me, and I get it. I walked away when you thought I'd stay. You're angry I didn't give you the house, the money, the life you wanted. I'm not writing to say I'm sorry for that." I clenched my jaw, feeling the old rage bubble up. Of course she wasn't sorry. She'd never been sorry, just smug and selfish. But then she kept going, and it wasn't what I expected. "That deal you sank everything into, the one that fell apart, I know more about it than you think. It wasn't just a bad bet, Jane, it was a scam. A big one. Those guys you trusted, they were cooking the books, roping in people like you to take the fall. I found out after you told me about it, back when you brushed me off like I didn't matter." My breath caught. The startup, those slick-talking assholes with their private jet promises. I'd lost it all, sure, but a scam? I kept reading, my hands shaking now. "You wouldn't listen, so I dug around myself. Hired a lawyer, quietly, to look into it. When it crashed, they were ready to pin it on you. Fraud charges, maybe worse. I made sure that didn't happen. Paid off what I could, got your name off the paperwork. You never knew because I didn't want you to. But it's why I had to cut you off after. I couldn't keep bailing you out, not when you just dive back in." I sank onto the steps, the letter crumpling in my grip. My head was spinning. Fraud charges? Jail? She'd saved me. Mom, the woman I'd cursed 1,000 times, had pulled me out of a hole I didn't even see. I'd thought she'd abandoned me, but she'd been there, behind the scenes, cleaning up my mess one last time. The next part hit even harder. I couldn't let my daughter end up in a cell, Jane. But I also couldn't keep living for you. I've spent years giving you everything, money, time, chances, and you took it all, expecting more. I had to choose myself, or I'd disappear completely. I hope one day you understand that." I sat there, staring at the page, my eyes burning. Understand? How was I supposed to understand this? She'd saved me, yeah, but then she'd walked away, left me to rot while she sipped cocktails at Sunset Haven. I wanted to scream, to rip the letter to shreds, but I couldn't stop reading. "The house went to Clara because she's been my family when you weren't. The money's for kids who need it. Kids who might grow up better than we did. I don't regret it, but I do regret losing you, Jane. Not the you who demanded my life, but the little girl who painted with me. I miss her. Maybe you do too." That was it. No love mom, no begging me to call, just her name, Margaret Larson, at the bottom like a signature on a contract. I let the pages fall to my lap, my chest tight like someone had punched me square in the ribs. All this time I'd painted her as the villain, selfish, cold, a traitor who'd picked strangers over her own blood. But she'd been watching out for me, even when I'd spat in her face, and I'd never known. I thought back to that birthday, her standing there with that folder, telling me I could stay or go. I'd seen it as a power play, a slap to my pride. Now it felt different, like she'd been pleading with me, One last shot to pull me back before she let go for good. And I'd walked away so sure I was right, so sure she was wrong. But she wasn't. She'd seen me clearer than I'd ever seen myself. A user, a taker, someone who'd bleed her dry and call it love. I didn't cry, not then. I just sat there, the stairwell cold against my back, replaying every fight, every time I'd snapped at her, every dollar I'd taken without a thank you. She'd saved me from ruin, and I'd repaid her by trashing her name. The worst part? I couldn't even say I'd change if I got another shot. I wanted to, I swear I did, but the anger was still there, tangled up with the guilt, choking me. She'd given me everything, and I'd thrown it back at her. Now she was free, and I was the one locked in a cage I'd built myself. I folded the letter, shoved it in my pocket, and climbed the stairs to my shitty little apartment. I didn't know what to do with it. With her, with me. But one thing was clear, I'd been wrong about her, about everything, and that truth was heavier than all the debt I'd ever owed. I don't sleep much these days. The warehouse job wears me out. 10-hour shifts hauling boxes, my shoulders screaming by the end. But when I crash on that lumpy mattress, my brain won't shut off. I keep seeing her handwriting, those loops and curls spelling out truths I didn't want to face. It's been weeks since Clara's letter showed up, and I still don't know what to do with it. It's sitting in a drawer now, next to a pack of stale cigarettes and a bill I can't pay. I haven't read it again, don't need to. It's burned into me. Life's different now, if you can call it that. I'm up at dawn, chugging burnt coffee from a chipped mug, then out the door to stack crates for $8 an hour. It's not glamorous, hell, it's not even decent, but it's keeping the lights on, barely. I've been chipping away at the debt, sending crumpled 20s to that loan shark whenever I can. He doesn't bang on my door anymore, at least. Small wins, I guess. The apartment's still a dump. Walls yellowed from years of smoke, a faucet that drips no matter how hard I twist it. But it's mine. No one's bailing me out this time. I saw Mom in the news the other day. Some local paper ran a story about her art fund. Big headline, "Retired Painter Gives Back," with a picture of her at Sunset Haven. She was standing by a lake, wind in her hair, smiling like she'd never smiled at home. There was this easel next to her, a half-finished painting of flowers or something, and a bunch of kids holding brushes. She looked alive, happier than I'd ever made her. I stared at that photo for too long, my coffee going cold, wondering how she'd turned her back on me and found that kind of peace. Part of me hated her for it. Part of me wished I could feel it too. I've thought about calling her, showing up even. Sunset Haven's not far, a couple hours drive, if I could borrow a car. I'd walk up to that fancy gate, find her on that balcony and... What? Say I'm sorry? Ask her to take me back? I don't even know what I'd want from her anymore. Forgiveness, maybe. Or just a chance to look her in the eye and see if she still sees me, the real me. Not the mess I turned into, but every time I grab my phone, my hands freeze. What if she doesn't answer? What if she does, and I've got nothing worth saying? The truth is, I'm stuck. I get up, work, come home, repeat. I'm trying, really trying to claw my way out of this hole. No more wild bets, no more chasing shortcuts. Just slow, grinding days one after the other. I tell myself it's progress, that I'm not the same Jane who stormed out of her house that night. But then I catch myself snapping at the cashier for shorting me a nickel, or staring at Lisa's old ultrasound pic I found in a box, and I wonder if I've changed at all. Mom's letter said she missed the girl I used to be. I miss her too, but I don't know how to find her again. So here I am, 32 years old, starting over with less than nothing. Mom's out there, painting her sunsets, living a life I can't touch. Clara's got the house, those kids have her money, and I've got a job that smells like cardboard and regret. I lost everything. Lisa, the baby, the future I thought was mine. And yeah, I lost Mom too, but maybe she lost me first. Or maybe I pushed her away so hard she had no choice but to go. I keep coming back to that birthday. Her standing there with that damn folder, offering me a way out I was too stubborn to take. She saw it coming, my crash, my fall, and she still tried to save me. I didn't get it then, but I do now. She wasn't the enemy, I was, and now I'm left with this. What's left of me anyway. Maybe I can build something from it. Maybe I can't. All I know is, I'm still here, still breathing, still fighting, and maybe that's enough for now. Or maybe it's just the start of figuring out who the hell I'm supposed to be.